In this lesson, we'll explain how to create creative images. If you have a certain foundation, you will find this kind of picture very simple, with no technical content. But for students who are just getting acquainted with C4D, making such a chart is definitely challenging. And through such a case, I also want to illustrate that even if we only have some very basic knowledge, and with these knowledge points, you can also create good-looking works. Before explaining, let's recommend a little software. When we're modeling, I hope the reference images can always stay at the forefront of our screen, so it's convenient for us to compare them. Here we recommend a small software. After downloading, unzip it and then just double click. Here it will show that it has run, and then when we press the shortcut key F1, it can take a screenshot. We can screenshot it. After screenshotting, there will be many features here. Look, there will be a push pin. Just click on it. Alright, we can turn it off, and it will always stay at the forefront of our screen. Plus, we can minimize it. I'll just put it here. First, let's explain how to create text. Click here and hold, find the text, and we can create one. This text is merely a path. It cannot be rendered. It's like the paths we draw in an Illustrator or in Photoshop. After we create an object, first we need to find its modification in the lower right corner. Here we enter AE C4D, and then we can change its font. We'll use Microsoft Yahoo. Then we can adjust its height, horizontal spacing. Now this text cannot be rendered because it is just a path. Now we need to turn it into an...
You're welcome.
Let's take another look at this icon.
Similarly, do not move when clicking. We found squeezing.
The extrude tool is to extrude a solid from this path. Select text, drag to break, place it under the extrude. Now it has extruded a solid. When we choose to extrude, there are many parameters below. The most important of which is the thickness of the extrusion. And then cap it off. Capping off means whether it has sharp edges or transitions against the front. We can click here to set the rounder corners. Okay, below it is also a rounded cap. It will have an unevenness, which is that it is divided into several segments. The radius is its size. We'll make the radius a bit smaller. Change it to 2.
Not satisfied, change it for me.
A bit smoother. We've now created a very basic text. Here we'll create another cube and hide the text. Clicking here allows us to control its thickness. Then we'll make it into an editable object. It means we can edit its points, lines, and surfaces. The shortcut is C, or we can click here to convert it to an editable object by clicking once. By clicking on the area, we can control its surface. We choose its surface. What we need to do is to make it tuck in a bit in Trimble software, including other software, any function you want to implement. First of all, the first thing is to ask about the right shoulder. Just right-click the right mouse button, and you'll find there are many more features here. If you're just getting started, don't be afraid. All the functions here are very simple. We'll explain the features when we need them. Otherwise, explaining them alone is very dry. Each feature has some shortcuts. If it's an inward squeeze, the shortcut is I. Pressing I on the keyboard will make it squeeze inward. Pressing D squeezes it forward or backward. Let's step back a bit. Or right-click to find internal extrusion, then extrude inward a bit. Then compress it inwards. We refer to this diagram as editor Lee. Click to display light and shadow coloring. As you can see, this is its structure, a very simple structure. Now the edges of this simple model are very sharp. Let's deal with them. In the real world, any object will go through a transition. Then we choose this object and the edit mode, click edit. We can press shortcut UL, select a loop, then press shift to select more. For internal selection, keep holding shift, Don't move. If you can't remember the shortcuts, commands for selecting these edits are all here. We find loop select. Select this loop. Hold shift and add selection.
See you after school in a suit.
Add selection. After selecting, we right click chamfer, which is to make its edges have a smooth transition. We drag it. Just a bit of transition will do. Let's finally divide it into thirds. Let's step out and turn off its light and shadow shading. Order a table of garlic. We now have such a model. Rename the little cube.
Let's explain another command.
That is cloning. In the motion graphics, we find cloning, which turns one object into many. We choose a small cube and place it under the clone. The clone contains many parameters, but we don't need to know too many right now. First, let's simply apply it here. It has a quantity of clones. We select 5 clones, 5 pieces. Right now, it's cloning upwards. That is the outer shaft, the green one pointing upwards. We change it to 0, allowing it to align along the x-axis.
Display banner.
Just clone it like this. We activate the text and place it in front of him. Run through the air.
How about the size? A bit shorter.
Control the text's horizontal spacing. In our basic model, we create a new blank object. Then we select these 2 objects and place them under the blank object, representing a group. We can click here to fold them. We can collectively control this group, which represents the composite in A1. Let's rename it.
Block and mosquito.
Next responsible for the document. Then holding the Alt key, click once and then click again to hide it in the scene. Let's take a look at the unlocking method here. Here, let's talk about a few more features. First, we create a torus and then we create a polygon and place it here. We can see this icon. It's like a gear. Inside there are individual functions. We click on the spline Boolean. Our spline board is simply doing these arithmetic operations on its path. We choose these 2 paths to place at the bottom of the spline board. By default, the spline Booleans find their intersection, but we can also subtract from B or B minus A. Now, it is an integrated one. After creation, we convert it into an editable object. We click here and then we can change its points. It's a very common line, so let's delete it. Here we create a new rectangle. Press the middle mouse button to switch to 4 views. In the filter, we can temporarily remove the grid so that we can see more clearly. We make the rectangle wider. We copy this rectangle,
Then make it a bit shorter.
now we can see its width is about half that of the small square. Then we move it a bit to this side. We find the spline Boolean. Subtract AB, then press the C key to convert it into an editable object and edit its points, moving them slightly inward. We select these 2 points, and when pressing the Shift key, add select like moving a little to this side. Let's get it here. Then we choose this point and move it in the same way. Make sure they are parallel. Then select these 2 points and move a little. When we select the spline, right-click to create a point. Click once, click it, and it will create 2 points.
Select these 2 points and we click to scale it. Align them here. Likewise, right-click to create a point. Here we create another one. Select this point, and while holding down the Shift key, move a little bit towards this direction. Received goods. With the Move tool, we can then move it over here. We can also select these 4 points, zoom them in, align them on the same line. Select this point a bit forward. Or we push out with the middle mouse button. Squeeze. We squeeze this hotbar. Inside the object, we make the extrusion thickness a bit thicker. We then obtain such a model. Holding the Ctrl key, dragging is a way to copy, then turn them off. Turn off the first extrusion as well. After copying, I drag out this hotbar and change this hotbar. The tool for drawing frames means I can select these points. Delete it, delete it, delete it, delete it, delete it. Again, place it under the squeeze. Give it a tray. In point mode, we select these 2 points. Move a bit towards this side. Unselect these 2 points, a bit up. The 2 points of the mineral spring, make it go down a bit. Select these 2 points, pick this side a bit. Select these 2 points. Then zoom in. Scaling is to align these 2 points.
Change its extrusion thickness to 40.
Then nudge it this way a bit.
A little outward.
For the extrusion, we set a chamfer for it, and for the top inside, we set a rounded top. Rounded corners. Moved in, we set it to 2.
The transition should be slightly diffuse.
This computer case is the same, with a rounded off top. The corners are rounded off. The radius is 2. The acceptance is 3. Let's adjust the text here. Create text. We'll place it here first. Right here. Press the number up.
Please don't hesitate to like, subscribe, share, and support Minjing and the column by
Eagle Source Cinema 4D. Very simple modeling. Next, we extrude it. Or let me place it here a bit forward.
Become a bit smaller.
A bit smaller. Increase the horizontal gap a bit and the vertical gap a bit too. Then, let's place it under extrusion. push it in a bit. Let's also add a bevel to the edge of the text. Round off the top. Change the size to 1.
Unconvinced. Change it to 2.
Double click here and we can create a new material ball. We can make this text a bit brighter. Let's look at the little balls here. New small bridge. Inside the motion graphics, we'll find a clone and place the ball under the clone object so it can clone this ball. Clone along the x-axis in the same way. Clone nil for. Drag it here and we can make the ball a bit smaller. Watch the proportions as we operate it. Bring it a bit closer. By holding the Ctrl key, we can copy and place it below. The distance is also a bit closer. Fill 5 and then let's control it a bit. Very simple modeling. Let's look at the text above again. We're talking text. Place it here for instance. I type in happy here. Let's save it first and then change the font.
Subtitles arrive at the Mark committee.
I think this font is okay. I'll enlarge it a bit. Space the items out a bit more. Then we select this text, copy it by holding down the Ctrl key, and turn off the header.
Press the C key to turn it into an editable object. Let's click.
Beneath the click boundary, we find a create outline. Creating an outline allows it to expand along its edge. I can give it an expansion value. We find the ticket book and then create a rectangle. Put it here. We make it smaller first. Let's take a look. We choose these two objects to find their intersection, which is a union. Now they will come together. Now I turn off everything, delete the rectangle, and we enter the official drawing. Remember, do not choose this path. We'll use a brush to draw along its inside. If we're not sure, it's okay to let it stick out a bit. We draw a circle inside it. After drawing, we train the spline in the same way. Get the intersection. So now it turns into this object. I cut it with the C key. At this moment, I apply the same pressure, or during operation, by holding the Alt key, we directly place our spline under it, like this. I let it back a bit. Let's find the same text by text by holding the Alt key. See what? Yeah. We train a financial sphere once again. Hand it over to him.
Remove this extended wave.
Let's practice a ring first. Put it here, and then make the ring smaller. Squeeze the ring. create a new star. Also put it here. Similarly, by pressing the Alt key, we squeeze it. Put it behind. Change the shape of the star to make its inner radius a bit larger. The outer radius is a bit larger. Use a bit. Make this part a bit thicker. These two same objects, we also give them a rounded cap. All sizes are 2, right?
I'm convinced this also 2.
The text below, let it also have a rounded top. Then we'll create a new aid system. Place it underneath. Put this cylinder there. The radius becomes a bit smaller. But turn off this line. Put it here. Let it peel off a bit. What about the height? Make it a bit higher. This is a simple modeling. Through this small case, we learnt about simple movable objects and the squeeze toggle Boolean. CCD software has many various tricks. Regarding the model part of this effect, that's all for now. Next class, we will talk about its lighting, material, and rendering.